a new person, new bike, a new adventure, something is gonna go wrong. Hello everybody. So I didn't get a chance whenever I started this trip to make a video about why I'm going on this trip and what I plan to do on the trip, what it's for. I didn't give any of that information before I started out on this trip. So this is kind of a flashback from present day. Now, I was working in Missouri at an unspecified location, doing some pretty hush-hush, top secret stuff, secret squirrel stuff they call it, yeah. I bought this motorcycle while I was there to be able to run errands and do things when I was in town. I live in Oregon and I was working in Missouri. And I decided that instead of shipping the bike home and flying home, I would just ride the bike home. And that would give me a great opportunity to do some camping, to see the sights that I've never seen before. So I was planning on warmer weather, but because it was the end of May, Yellowstone National Park is pretty chilly in May. And I did not pack all the clothes that I needed for that cold of weather. So that kind of pushed me to the southern route. And I really made that final decision when I was in New Mexico. I could either go north from New Mexico, go into Yellowstone, and then over to Oregon, or I was just going to keep going west and go see the Grand Canyon. But this first video is just going to be getting out of Missouri through Oklahoma and into New Mexico. When I was about 6 years old, I was in first grade maybe, I got a Honda 50, and when it was used, and when that thing was running, my dad would help me keep it running. He got it pretty cheap, I think. This was back in like 1979. And I completely finished wearing that bike out. When I was about 5th grade or so, I got a Trail 90, a Honda Trail 90. And we lived on 10 acres. We had a little 10-acre farm, and I wore a trench around the perimeter of that property with that Honda 90. I loved it. And then when I was in about 9th grade, I got a 125, a Honda 125 Enduro. It just said Honda and it had 125 on it, and it had a headlight, tail light, brake lights, turn signals, and rear view mirrors or side mirrors, and I didn't know any more about it than that, other than it was fun to ride. And then I didn't ride motorcycles anymore after that. So fast forward to just now, this is the first bike I've owned since I was a kid. And before I started this trip, I only put 1,100 miles on this bike. When that was over with, I needed to be able to do something with it. And I was either going to sell it, ship it home, sell it, or keep it. And I decided to keep it and start this little adventure. Recording videos, going out camping, because I love to camp. I've been camping since I was a little kid. I've been camping a lot all my life. Hunting, fishing, just going camping on the weekends, playing with friends. Like I said, from the time I was a little kid, my parents have got pictures of us out camping, fishing, doing all kinds of stuff. So in order to make this a little more interesting than just another adventure bike rider putting videos out on YouTube, I wanted to be able to tell stories through what I'm doing. So you'll have something cool to watch and be able to hear some cool stories along the way, instead of just watching somebody ride a motorcycle for 20 minutes. So now, along the route, I got to tell you this. There was a guy I met, another adventure rider that I met that was from New York and had driven his bike out to the West Coast on the northern route, went south down the Pacific Coast Highway, and then was doing Route 66 all the way back to the East Coast. And And he's been riding his, he's had that bike for a long time. He's been doing this a lot. This is not his first trip. And him and I was talking about what I was doing, and when I told him that this is my very first trip on a motorcycle ever, and I was going from Missouri to Oregon, he was like, "What?" Like, that's pretty ambitious. And I knew it was. I wasn't afraid to fix a flat or a chain or to do almost anything to this bike. And where most people would be freaked out about just the very first motorcycle trip they ever take is a big 3,700. I went 3,770 miles. I stopped 17 different times.
Whoa!
I stayed in a hotel 4 nights out of 34 days.
Impossible.
And camped the rest of the time. Some places I camped was totally free. Some places cost $60. Those KOAs are expensive. Anyways, so I was being really ambitious as far as most people are concerned. And I don't mind being ambitious. I don't try to be ambitious. I just do what I want to do, and sometimes that's pretty ambitious as far as most people are concerned. So this story is going to be mostly about getting home. So I don't know what I'm going to call this, but my goal is to get home. But I want to get home at a leisurely pace, do a lot of camping, relaxing. That job that I was on, 52 days in 2 years that I didn't work. And so this motorcycle trip was just to stop and relax, get back to Mother Nature, spend some time out here, and regroup, get myself back together again, because that's a lot of hard work. My very first camp was in Springfield, Missouri at a KOA. I wanted to be able to just break everything down because I packed this whole bike up in a storage unit. And I did it over months. So I'd buy a little piece here and a little piece there and buy that, and I'd bolt everything on and hook it all up and put it to the bike and pack it full. And after a couple of months of doing that, I thought I had everything that I needed. I was ready to go. And whenever it was time to go, I didn't have a lot of time to just break stuff out and double check and make sure. I did that off and on while I was purchasing stuff and putting stuff on the bike and going through it. I was constantly going through it, so I thought I had a pretty good idea of what I had. But whenever I first took off going down the road, it was real tough to get the bike to lean from one side to the other because there was so much weight up here, up high on the bike. It took a lot to get that weight pushed over that side and get it pushed back over this side. And it was making the bike real sluggish and not safe to ride. So my very first stop was not very far away. My first camp, I spent 2 nights there. Basically, I got there that evening. I spent the whole next day breaking the bike down, tearing it apart, whatever. I stayed that night and then I left. And after that first camp, and after repacking, taking everything out and repacking, putting the heavy stuff down here at the bottom, and the lighter stuff up here up top, and then rearranging all my bags so that the stuff that I needed was the stuff I needed to, let's say, cook was all in one bag. The stuff I needed to set up a tent and a sleeping bag, that was all in one bag. My clothes was all in one bag, so that I wasn't hunting for things all the time. So that's how I packed it. Left Missouri in a hurry to get across to Oklahoma because it was hot at night. The first 3 or 4 nights, I just slept in my sleeping bag liner and sweated. and it was horrible. I hated it. So I wanted to get out of Missouri and Oklahoma and get into the mountains of New Mexico and southern Colorado as soon as I could, because that's where it was cooler at night. I would be able to sleep. And so I just wanted to hurry up and get through Oklahoma. I left Missouri, made it into Oklahoma. The very first camp that I went to was not very good. I stayed one night at that camp. It was loud, so many people, and my tent site was unlevel. I got up that next morning and left as soon as I could before everybody else got up. And made it into western Oklahoma, the western Oklahoma Panhandle. Ended up staying at a RV campground, mostly RVs. There were no other tents there. It was just RV sites. But they were only like 27 bucks. Nothing special, all brand new. You could tell they pretty much just put it in. All the trees they weren't over 10, 12 feet tall, but everything really nice put together. And I stayed there a night, got up the next day and made it into New Mexico. So this first video is just me getting out of Missouri through Oklahoma, and I was in a hurry to do that. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this first little video in the series. It's going to be about a five-part series from Missouri to Oregon, and my very first motorcycle trip ever. And some people would probably say it was bound for failure. A new person, new bike, a new adventure. Something is going to go wrong. Something somewhere is going to go wrong, right? It has to. So you guys stay tuned, and I hope to see you on the next one. You guys take care.